It's December 30th, 2023. Miami, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium, a place that is about to host what may be the only sporting event ever played that nobody actually truly wants to be at.
We welcome you to the Capital One Orange Bowl.
The 2023 Orange Bowl, a bowl game at that winds up being
Runs out of time.
That winds up being an appalling disgrace to American football. It seems impossible for that to ever happen. Sports in general are meant to be competitive and fun for somebody. A player, a coach, a fan. Somebody is deriving a sense of satisfaction from being there, particularly on if the team they want to pick up a win does so or not. That, essentially, does not matter to anyone here at Hard Rock Stadium today. Neither team feels good about themselves getting out of bed that morning to play this game, neither team's fan base is psyched up about this game, and both feel depressed for having to play this game in the first place. Plenty of essential players for one of the teams in this game didn't even bother showing up. And then, on top of that, it was one of the ugliest, most lopsided sporting events ever played, in an era and in a setting where that simply is never supposed to happen. This is the least fun football game that has ever been played. And I'm a New York Jets fan making that declaration. Most football games I watch are not fun for me, so this being the clear-cut least enjoyable of the bunch should really tell you something about how glum and awful this one really is. And for the record, yes, I think the game you are going to see here was even less fun and even more disgraceful to football than the 222-0 Georgia Tech Cumberland game. In some sort of twisted, demonic way, that game is really funny. This game here is not funny, just depressing. Enough hubbub, let's get into the tale of the tape. It really is important to establish the two competitors here and the lore of how neither team could want to be here. Both have a backstory that fuels this loathing of having to be on the field in Miami, and both are stories necessary to understanding this perfect storm of football misery. We begin with the two-time defending college football national champions. Georgia rolled into their previous game on a 29-game winning streak, and the unquestioned number one team in America. No team since before World War II had ever won 3 straight national titles. But Georgia has a very, very real chance to make that happen. And it's been some ride they've been on. They won the first of their 2 national titles in a row against rival Alabama, and the most recent was an absolute disintegration of TCU, 65-7 in front of the entire country, a margin of victory for Georgia in the national championship, mind you, about as large as Lil Yachty's margin of victory in the 2023 Album of the Year race. Please listen to Let's Start Here. Heading into the 2023 SEC title game against Alabama, they have this game being played in Atlanta, Georgia. It has to feel like a potential coronation on another college football playoff appearance. An exclusive club at this time where what are deemed to be the 4 best teams in the country compete for a chance to win the definitive championship across college football. More on that later, we'll put a brief pin in that. But entering the SEC title game, one game before the decision is officially made of which 4 teams can compete for that coveted championship, there is a very clear top favorite. Georgia is undefeated and has won every single game by at least 7 points in what is considered the toughest conference in the country. No true do-or-die tight games. They've just comfortably taken care of business easily and efficiently. Alabama, while very good and on a 10-game win streak to close the season, is not quite the invincible juggernaut they've appeared to be in years past. To some extent, that's what Georgia is as of today. Problem here is that Alabama jumped out to a lead in the second quarter and never looked back. Winning streak over, but in a 4-team playoff, you would have to imagine a one-loss SEC team whose one loss was in the SEC championship game would have enough cachet to still get an invite, especially when that team has won 2 straight national titles. Surely, that is one of the top 4 best teams in the country.
Let's look now at number 6. The Georgia Bulldogs. So after consecutive national championships,
they dropped from number 1 to number 6 in the rankings. They're kicked out of the playoff picture, in the snap of a finger. The playoff rankings are decided by 12 human beings coming together to pick the best teams in the country. It is not necessarily a meritocracy. There is no objective criteria teams need to strive for to be selected. They just need to impress 12 people. Georgia's 29-game win streak in the premier conference in college football and a 3-point loss in the SEC championship to, by the way, a team that did get the 4th and final spot, jumping them from number 8 purely off the back of that win. So beating Georgia was impressive enough to single-handedly earn them a shot at the college football playoff. A tip of the cap to how much they respected the ability to beat Georgia at all, but that also kicks Georgia so far down the line that they also fall behind a team that was ranked 7th at the same time Alabama was at 8. Alabama probably earned, at the very, very least, real consideration for a spot by beating Georgia. Meaning Georgia's one loss to Alabama was good enough for Alabama that it catapulted them in, but so catastrophic for Georgia that they fell from 1 to 6. And got jumped by 2 other one-loss teams that were ranked 7th and 8th. It makes no sense. Maybe I'm taking Mugadu's crazy pills, but I simply cannot understand the logic. I know this is kind of personal and anecdotal, but that's kind of what the playoff committee's reasoning is too. No playoff for Georgia. Of course they're miserable, coming to Miami for the Orange Bowl. They got disrespected so badly and so inexplicably, purely from one close loss to a team good enough that their spot was ripped out of them from thin air. So there's no way to feel excited about the next game. You're not competing for a championship anymore when your resume, not just this year but over the past 3, should have surely earned you that opportunity to go down swinging in that environment. If you don't think that's true, it is absolutely the case in Georgia's minds heading to the game. But what if I told you their opponent here in this Orange Bowl game is even more miserable and, unbelievably, even more wronged and disrespected by the committee? But please allow a word from our sponsor first. This video is brought to you by Arena Club. Ready to level up your collection or get started on your trading card journey? Arena Club's original slab packs bring the thrill of ripping packs together with the power to buy, sell, and trade all in one place. Arena Club is the most trusted name in the game. They offer full transparency, showing every card in the pack with the likelihood of pulling each one, so you know exactly what's available before you buy. With slab packs, you can rip a wide range of packs starting at just $25, and every single pack has a card in there that's at least 20x the value. For my pull in this video, I got a Drake May card. Drake May, who, you know, is gonna make life really fun for my New York Jets over the next few years. Yay. It's the future of trading cards, combining childhood vibes and modern technology. You know what I always think of with football cards? I might have been 9 or 10 years old. My cousin and I found these Felix Jones Arkansas cards and Barry Sanders Oklahoma State cards. I don't even know how we got them. In my headcanon, they just emerged out of thin air. But like all these years later, I still specifically remember those two because finding great cards was like the coolest feeling in the world for childhood. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/SRS and use code SRS. Thank you, Arena Club. Florida State opens their season by absolutely thumping number 5 LSU 45-24. That win moves the red and gold up to number 4 in the rankings. Prime real estate to get into the, 4-team playoff, assuming you take care of business and keep winning. After beating rival Miami to jump to 10-0, Florida State is still number 4 in the rankings. They catch some flack for, quote, not beating anybody good. Their 2 ranked wins are number 16 Duke and the number 5 team in the country at the time of playing them, who are more like a low teens ranking team these days. Abolish preseason rankings. They're still headed into their second to last game of the regular season as an undefeated team in a power conference deep into the season. Assuming they don't step on the trample steam and fling themselves off the map, why is Die-Rise like this? They should coast to the playoff. No undefeated power conference team has ever been excluded. So, just win. Enter a game against North Alabama on the same network that aired Arrow and Riverdale, losing 13-0 to a 3-7 team a full level below them. Disaster strikes.
First quarter, Travis, 40, first down, and he's clutching his left leg.
FSU quarterback Jordan Travis suffers a catastrophic season-ending leg injury. Everyone knows it right away. Among the very, very worst things that can happen to you when your goal is to win out and leave no doubt for a playoff push is losing your starting QB. Again, take it from a Jets fan, that is a brutal, unforgiving feeling with season-shattering consequences. But, amazingly, FSU scores 58 unanswered points in that game, beats rival Florida by 9 points on the road the next week, and wins the ACC championship game against number 16 Louisville by 10. 13-0 season, 3 wins in a row since Travis went down. The team still stepped up and did their jobs. Again, no team that has ever come from a power conference with an undefeated record has ever been excluded from the playoffs. You would never think it was possible, particularly in a landscape where they're one of just 3 undefeated Power 4 teams now that Georgia has also lost. The other 2 have been invited to the dance as the number 1 and number 2 ranked teams. No team with that kind of pedigree was ever told they didn't deserve to go to the playoff. Until now. So, do I understand leaving 13-0 FSU out of the college football playoff because their quarterback being hurt lessened their chance of winning the national title, and thus the committee prioritized putting in teams they thought would make for more competitive games? Of course not! You punished the entire team that still won key games after Jordan Travis' season-ending injury just for the loss of one player. The way I see it, winning and losing has to matter. The games on the field for every team have to matter. Florida State, a power conference team that won every single game on their schedule, was told that was not good enough. Literally, winning every single game did not matter. They were still cast aside. To me, that's inexcusable. Someone else who agrees with me is the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who decides he's going to rope off $1 million of the state of Florida's budget to sue the committee that decided 2 teams with losses did more to earn that spot than undefeated FSU. There is no positive spin here. Not even Squim can do the Squim dance to uplift FSU's spirits. FSU and its fans are just like Mr. Ice Cream, crying in his shop. It also sets the precedent that there is no reason to go out there and win your games because they'll just take a team or 2 with a loss anyway. I hate it so much. It's also as if the committee simply didn't pay attention to football history either. Jeff Hostetler and Nick Foles both won Super Bowls as backup quarterbacks after the starter went down late in the year. Hell, the Dillon Panthers won state after Jason Street got paralyzed in the first week of the season, and Matt Saracen quarterbacked them for nearly the whole year aside from the Voodoo Tatum fiasco. It's not unprecedented for good enough teams to find a way to win after losing their quarterback, and it would certainly make for a great narrative throughout the playoff. We can only dream. FSU is also sent packing. They're now Georgia's opponent in the Orange Bowl, a game neither team feels very pumped up for because both feel wrong to not be in the college football playoff. And frankly, both have a compelling case in their favor. FSU is taking this a little more to heart though, as they should. Not 1, not 2, but 14 FSU starters opt out of this game. 14 FSU starters decide this pity party Orange Bowl is simply not worth their time. This is now a team entering the game down 2 quarterbacks, both of their top 2 running backs, both of their top 2 receivers, the starting tight end, 2 starting linebackers, 3 starting defensive linemen, and 3 starting defensive backs. My goodness. Alright, so now it's game day. We have 2 teams that are miserable. One team's without their top offensive weapon because he decided this game is so meaningless and unimportant that the ankle injury he previously already came back from was enough of a reason to just save his time. And the other team is barely showing up at all and is relying on so many guys who have barely played meaningful college football. And an environment where no matter who wins, everyone who loves that team will still pout they didn't make the playoff. The perfect setting for absolutely atrocious, disgraceful, abhorrent, miserable football. Here goes. Well, that's not an ideal start for Florida State. Their first drive ends with an ugly-looking overthrow on 3rd and 6. You really do have to feel for this freshman QB in his first real action of college football, having to face the previously two-time defending national title winners on that first action. On Georgia's first drive, more than once you just see the FSU front seven getting blasted by Georgia's run game before Arian Smith drops a screen during it. The depleted FSU front seven forces a fumble on Carson Beck. Yeesh. It doesn't cost Georgia too much in a vacuum. This drive actually ends on a rough incompletion on 4th and 3. And for a brief moment, FSU and its fans actually have a glimmer of hope this game could be something. Anything memorable for them. Until a nice block of nothing ensues for the next few minutes. Georgia finally scores a rushing touchdown with about 4 minutes left in the first quarter. A totally untouched 15-yard run. Georgia does take this moment to celebrate some success. Probably a brief moment of catharsis for the hell they've been through of late. The rest of the quarter is boring, sluggish football, aside from one more huge Georgia run on one of the final plays. 7-0 after 1. That is going to change very soon and very dramatically. On the first play of the second quarter, second rushing TD of the day for Georgia's Kendall Milton, who takes a bow real quick for the crowd. He's trying his hardest to celebrate and have some fun. Good for him. I'm sure he'd much prefer if it was his team in the playoff right now, though. FSU puts a drive together next that, believe it or not, looks pretty fun. Capped off by a bomb to give them fantastic field position. That was cool. They only settle for a field goal after that 1st and 10 inside the 5, which really blows, but that keeps you in the game. Nope. Georgia scores on their next drive. FSU fumbles the ensuing kickoff, Georgia scores again, FSU punts, Georgia scores again, FSU gets strip sacked in Georgia field goal range, Georgia scores again, FSU throws a pick that bounces off one of their players' hands into a Georgia player's as the last play of the half, and the score at halftime is... that... I don't know, man. I'll give Georgia this. I respect that they're out here doing their best to show the committee that they screwed up with them being excluded. FSU, this is a whole different story of sadness, misery, and inexperienced players getting mollywopped left, right, and center by a top team in America. There is no joy to be taken at all from this here. Georgia, I actually don't think enjoys this either. I think they're angry and bitter over having to be here and are now just trying to make this as embarrassing as possible for all involved, something I believe they're succeeding at. This is arguably the premier non-playoff game in all of college football for the remainder of this season. It is 42-3 at halftime, and both teams are fueled by a shared distaste for having to play this game at all. Georgia gets the ball back to start the second half. About as cruel of a regulation coin toss fate as there has ever wound up being. They roll their backup QB out already, and they score a touchdown after a 10-play drive. 49-3. During the next kickoff, the announcers are talking about eating crab.
The coaches were saying they also got to eat at Joe's Stone Crab.
Anyways, FSU has their third down pass go a good 20 yards away from the nearest receiver. Georgia gets the ball back and scores again, officially becoming the first team to score 56 points in back-to-back bowl games, since that TCU national championship slaughter technically also counts. FSU throws a pick on their next series, Georgia marches down the field and scores again. 9 straight drives with a touchdown, 63-3. Georgia takes an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for hitting a touchdown dance here, up this much in the game. Hey man, this is the football equivalent of that girl crying dancing to Hey Ya. Georgia does not want to be here, they're just trying not to hate themselves. FSU, meanwhile, ugh. The scoring mercifully ends there. Every drive for the rest of the game either ends in a punt, or the clock finally running out on this thing. 12 minutes and 10 seconds of uneventful game clock churn, finally doing the thing this game has needed to for an hour or two now. End. Georgia 63, FSU 3, college football's integrity 0. Stat time. FSU completed 10 total passes for the entire game, leading to 209 yards of total offense. 63 on the ground. Hey, that's as many points as Georgia had. 146 more yards through the air. Georgia had 673 yards of total offense. Where they really got them, as you may have noticed, was on the ground. For every rushing yard FSU picked up, Georgia picked up a smidge under 6. This is the most lopsided bowl game of all time at the FBS level, adding further mockery to a game both teams resented even having to show up for. Georgia held that record coming into the game with the TCU 58-point bludgeoning, and they actually managed to outdo it on this day. And blowout football is capable of being fun, when you're on the right side of it, of course. I'm sure no Georgian at all complains about the 58-point TCU game. They look back on that one about as fondly as you can. One of the best nights of football I ever experienced was my freshman year of college, watching my alma mater Florida Atlantic win the Boca Raton Bowl 50-3, and they threw a pass on the final play of the game for some reason. That was awesome. Sure, it was because we won, but I feel nostalgia for it. The winning team of a 63-3 game is not all that proud of this one. That feels very one of a kind. And a 60-point bowl game win feeling like that only puts the nail in the coffin for how unfun this day was for all involved. It's empty, hollow, and they wish the game never happened. The team that won felt that. Putting it into terms like that, I legitimately cannot imagine the emotions for the team that lost. What a world. Squim's positivity definitely can't save this one, I'll tell you that much.